Yeah, so people might know already, because a lot of people are talking about this, like on Twitter and across the political sphere on the internet. Bari Weiss resigned from the New York Times recently. Like, super recently, like yesterday or some shit. Fuck neoliberalism. All my homies hate neoliberalism. Yeah, exactly. But I don't know who AG is, but she's resigning from the New York Times. She quit. She quit. She says she was hired with the goal of bringing in voices that would not otherwise appear in the New York Times, including centrists and conservatives, which doesn't make sense. Part of her framing in this behind this whole resignation and this letter is like, oh, the New York Times has a left wing illiberal bias, and they're like they have like a cancel culture bias, basically. Like, but Bari Weiss isn't getting fired; she's resigning. She's this is somebody canceling herself. Like, this is somebody canceling herself for clout because she's sick of people being mean to her in her Twitter mentions. That's what this is. Centrists and conservatives make up like according to me, I would say most of the New York Times are centrists to conservatives. Like, they don't have anti-war opinions in their paper. They don't have Marxist opinions. They don't have social democrats. They didn't support Bernie Sanders, first of all. They endorsed Warren and Klobuchar at the same time in a presidential primary. They endorsed two people. And when Bernie was there, they treated him like a danger to, like, they just basically think progressivism is a danger to society. Like, they're and Bari Weiss does as well. She's definitely like right of center. Like, if I had to graph Bari Weiss on a political compass, I would put her on like libertarian right center. Even though Zionism is not very not a very liberal or centrist thing to think. Isn't being mean to people in the mentions basically what cancel culture is? Well, usually a cancellation involves something bigger, like somebody gets fired from something or dropped from a label or something like that, dropped from a show. Like when Roseanne Barr got canceled, she got fired from her job. Like, that's cancellation. Usually that term is used when it has like a real consequence, not just people being mean to you on Twitter. And part of the free speech and open debate thing that people like Bari Weiss say that they're for is being mean to people on Twitter. Like, that comes with the open debate. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. But Bari Weiss is just like trying to do that here. And honestly, in my opinion, doing even worse. This is a grifter move. She's about to go start her own outlet somewhere. Like, this is a calculated decision. This is a careerist move. Like, I'm going to get a little bit Leninist here and say that this is some neoliberal opportunism that we're bearing witness to. She brought in a Venezuelan dissident. I bet Bari Weiss wouldn't care if they had a coup in Venezuela. An Iranian chess champion, Hong Kong Christian Democrat. Ooh, I wish Stalin was here so we could simp for China. Ayan Hirsi Ali. Heather Hying, Heather Hying is Brett Weinstein's wife. Brett Weinstein is one of the Weinstein brothers, who's like a, not Harvey, but like Brett Weinstein, who's like a intellectual dark web guy. Bari Weiss like got big. Well, I don't know about got big. Like, she was already at the New York Times, but Bari Weiss made the IDW a thing. Like, the intellectual dark web, like Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, Joe Rogan, the Weinstein brothers, Sam Harris, that group. Bari Weiss is the one who coined that whole thing. So my theory on this whole thing is we're going to see her collaborating with Ben Shapiro in like a month or 2 or 3. Give it a quarter at the most, and we'll see some Ben Shapiro, Bari Weiss crossover content. But like, the necessity of resisting tribalism, the centrality of the free exchange of ideas to democratic society have not been learned. There's a new consensus, especially at this paper, that truth isn't a process of collective discovery, but an orthodoxy already known to an enlightened few, whose job is to inform everyone else. I would argue that from a certain perspective that is the case, but not from this type of perspective that she's leaning towards. It's not a left-wing bias. It's literally a neoliberal centrist bias that they have. It's like a PMC, professional managerial class, if I can talk, type of orthodoxy that the New York Times is sort of wrapped in, like ham wrapped in bacon. But the thing is, like, Bari Weiss is like, oh, I want to be free, so I'm leaving. But in reality, it's like, she's to the right of their consensus. Like, they're not neoliberal enough for her. That's why she's leaving. She's pointing to this conformity as if she's pointing from, like, the direction of free debate and discussion, but really she's pointing from the direction of, like, these people are too left-wing for me, if that makes sense. Twitter is not the masthead of the New York Times, but Twitter has become its ultimate editor. Yeah, okay. So she feels that her colleagues were too afraid of Twitter backlash and that was like influencing their opinion. Satisfy the narrowest of audiences? Yeah, liberals. Does Bari Weiss is like, rather than to allow a curious public to read about the world and draw their own conclusions, she's literally an opinion writer. What does that mean? What? That's not what opinion writing is. It's not just offering objective facts. You editorialize. Her whole job was to editorialize the news. And she's complaining about that. Just because she doesn't like the fact that they're liberals. She's like to the right of that. Wrong think. I hate when people abuse Orwellian metaphors. It's like so, oh my god. People not wanting you to be bigoted is not wrong, accusing you of wrong think. It's not a totalitarian government. It's minority people wanting you to stop perpetuating their oppression. Like, that's not wrong. God. They've called me a Nazi and a racist. Writing about the Jews. Yeah, Bari Weiss is a Zionist. Bari Weiss would not care if every single Palestinian in the West Bank and Gaza were killed. Bari Weiss would not care. Bari Weiss stoked the Ilhan Omar is anti-Semitic for pointing out basic realities about how Israel is a corrupting influence on our governmental structure. She was part of that whole smear campaign against Ilhan. They're posting axe emojis next to her name. So she feels like people were trying to get her fired, but then she quits. Unlawful discrimination, hostile work environment, and constructive discharge. I'm no legal expert, but I know this is wrong. Wait a second. So she's like a proponent of like free speech and debate, right? But then she turns around and says, oh, I want legal action against the people who are talking bad about me in group chats. That's cancel culture. Like, if I ever did see, like... Showing up for work as a centrist at an American newspaper should not require bravery. You're surrounded by centrists there. Like, the people at the New York Times are not Marxists. They're not socialists. They're not leftists. They're not anti-war. They're not pro-socialism. They're not pro-left-wing workers-oriented political action. They're liberals. What's based, Roadcone? What's based? What are you talking about? What is based about any of this? This is the wrong time for the based word, I think. Intellectual curiosity is now a liability. Well, it always was, because, like, if I was intellectually curious about what's happening to the Palestinians, I wouldn't be able to write about that in the New York Times. You know? That's the ironic part about this, is that, like, she's acting like the one true liberal. But in reality, she's promoting, like, she's ignoring the part that's against the left about the New York Times. It's grifter shit. Online venom is excused so long as it is directed at the proper targets. Again, if you're against cancel culture, you should be okay with online venom. Like, that's just a really easy point. But I really would just want to, like, draw the like, diagram here in a clear way to show people the fact that Bari Weiss is not to the left of the New York Times. That's not why she's leaving. She's to the right of them, and that's why she's leaving. And the New York Times isn't even left-wing. Like, go read a New York Times article. They're not left-wing. If you're a fucking politically deluded, brainwashed American centrist numbskull, it might come off as left-wing to you because they're liberals, but, like, it's not. There's acres of political engagement to be found to the left of the New York Times. There's fucking miles. Like, upon miles to the left of the New York Times. Tom Cotton is a straight up authoritarian, by the way. Like, that guy is a liberal. And she's complaining about this. A proud anti-Semite who believes in lizard Illuminati. Alright. I don't know anything about Alice Walker, but... a distant galaxy. One whose concerns are profoundly removed from the lives of most people. Yeah, in the sense that they're fucking elitist liberals and not connected to the needs of working class individuals. Not in the sense that they're woke. The Soviet space program is lauded for its diversity. Wasn't it diverse? Wasn't it? The Soviet Union was pretty, like... Am I deluded by tankies if I say the Soviet Union was pretty culturally progressive? Because I think... I'm pretty sure it was, if I'm not wrong about that. Doxing of teachers or teenagers in the name of justice is condoned. I don't know what that's in reference to. And the worst caste systems in human history includes the United States alongside Nazi Germany. True! Based! Can I get... Wow, she just pulled right into the base department. The left is taking over, blah, blah, blah. Even though the left is nowhere near the New York Times. The new McCarthyism. I mean, Bari Weiss is basically a modern-day McCarthyite. Like, the new McCarthyism is calling Ilhan Omar an anti-Semite. That's the fucking new McCarthyism. Jesus Christ. And it's not even new. The biggest people who've ever been canceled are pro-Palestine activists and intellectuals. That's the biggest free speech issue that America has had in the recent times. Other than Trump smearing Antifa, which is a pretty big deal, but... Antifa's pretty fucking left-wing. That's my point, is that, like, the establishment is against the left. It's not against you, Bari Weiss. You're not of the left. She's kind of a boring-ass writer, too. All this bodes ill. It's like, ugh. That's such a pretentious turn of phrase. The narrative. I wish she was actually a radical. As far as the social progressiveness, they were okay on race but really hated gay people. Yeah, I'm really not sure about how socially progressive the USSR was, but Bari Weiss is canceling herself for clout so she can go start some intellectual dark web endeavor and doesn't have to be connected to the New York Times anymore. It's pretty fucking stupid. But I mean, grifter's gotta grift. Like, she'll keep on going. And didn't she try to, like, get Eli Valley fired? Bari Weiss, Eli Valley, for saying something about Israel. How to fight anti-Semitism. This is a perfect meme to explain to everybody who's like uninitiated who Bari Weiss is. Let's just go through these. Well, of course I grant them the right to free speech. No Sharia law, not all men, ethics in gaming journalism, bell curve shit, Muslim demographic threat, Antifa are Nazis, TERF is a slur and Me Too is a scam, race realism now, all lives matter, fake news, Lügenpresse, end the liberal fascism, all reactionary takes. These are all culturally right-wing takes. Race realism, real bad shit. Painting the left as the real fascists is what fascists do. Acting like more Muslims in America is a threat, even though the Muslim community in America is very well integrated, as far as I know. And TERFs, like, and MAGA shit, like, it's all, she's okay with that, but then, right. So, yeah, she's just... She's not good. There's like a bunch of these cartoons that we could go through. Eli Valley is Jewish, by the way. Bari Weiss just thinks if you don't unequivocally simp for Israel, you're not a real Jew. She's like Ben Shapiro in that respect as well. It's fucking cringy. This art style is really, like, aggressive, though. Like, it's really... It's kind of dark, actually, in a weird way. But yeah. Yeah. Didn't know Barry was a gamer. Oh. Everybody's a gamer sometimes. So yeah, just be prepared for the grift to continue, I guess, is the takeaway.